That's some serious recruiting.
Yeah.
4 weeks. What do you think so far?
I guess it's kind of great.
Yeah.
People here are very nice and very open, and in general, it's very healthy. People
Yes. Yeah.
do a lot of sports and take care of their eating habits, which is kind of great.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Have you been other places besides Seattle so far?
No, only just.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did you decide on a topic?
The election.
Election,
We're gonna
okay.
Talk about the election.
So, pick. You need to pick a position on the election and maybe how you feel
I'm
about.
German, and we Germans tend to be pretty liberal. So.
Right.
But I think none of the candidates right now are very suiting in their job.
Okay.
Trump is, you can't take him very serious. He's just very overwhelming with his opinions sometimes, and I think that's part why people like him, because he's different. And we still have people in Germany who talk to me and say, hey, I'm a Trump voter. I would vote for Trump if I could. So even some people in other countries do think he's doing a great job, but most of them not. I think Germany mostly was for, what was his name? Not Joe Biden, the other liberal guy.
In this current, in the primary season?
No, I think it was, he was running for president last time.
Obama?
Not Obama.
Bernie Sanders?
Bernie Sanders. We're all
yeah.
for Bernie Sanders, and we're crossing fingers that he will get to this job, and it's kind of hard.
So maybe maybe we could pick because all that you said is a little bit. It's not really a belief, right?
I know.
It's kind of.
What do I
But
believe?
one thing that the U.S. and Germany have in common that's a big issue is immigration.
Well, in Germany, we have different kind of issues because we still have our golden gates open. The U.S., which is the most famous for having the settler spirit and people coming to this country, is now closing his golden gates, which is so extremely sad, and it's just another proof that this country is so deeply divided. The biggest problem in this country is that this country is so deeply divided. You have only two parties, which is mostly who run the government, which is so sad because in Germany we have over 6 to 8, it depends very much from the state which are ruling, and it makes a huge difference if you have these many people who have an opinion and their opinion gets represented.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you guys have a different, more of a parliamentary system than we do.
Yeah, sure, and
which is more conducive to multi-parties as opposed to just two parties.
Yeah, no, it's a huge problem, I would say.
And that was, Bernie Sanders was, he registered as a Democrat, but for a long time he was independent, I believe, I think both he and Donald Trump in a symbolic way almost represent a third party.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the weaknesses perhaps of our electoral system in that we only have two parties. I think a lot of people are fed up with the two parties and see them both as dishonest and not working in the.
Definitely.
And so, one of the things that, and Donald Trump was a Democrat for most of his life and then registered as a Republican.
That's right.
And
which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, well, and then, I feel like, the Democratic Party, the established Democratic Party, was very proactive and one might say dishonest in the way that they handled the popularity of Bernie Sanders, and you sort of effectively got, eliminated him in a non-democratic way.
I don't know too much about that. I'm not too much into the election, but I would say this country is held back by their past, because you have still those people who are coming into a foreign country and those people settled here for the last 100 years or hundreds of years, and then you have the people who got brought here, and this is, I think, the hugest issue, because I don't know, those people at some point you don't have a real history, you have like no real culture and everything, you have just everything is very new and you have to figure out everything.
Who are you talking about now?
Yeah, I mean you have not a lot of history you can rely on. It's a very new country, and then you have those very difficult situation with people who are black or other ethnic groups which are also in the country and also had to be represented. So if you go to, for example, to China or Russia, you have mostly people who are from China or Russia living there. Maybe not in the big cities, there are more people from other countries going there, but here it is very, very different. And this is to bring all all mindsets under one roof is like really, really hard. And I also think that the mindset from the settlers who are coming here, like, okay, we need our freedom, we need to have our guns, we need to have everything to make it on our own. It's the same spirit that holds this country back. This urge for freedom is what makes the other Western countries, like the countries in Europe, for example, and especially Northern Europe. I think Northern Europe is doing better than Germany. They just have a more progressive government, they have more women in the government, they have younger people there. You have such old people there, and it's so instrumentalized. Like, for example, the vice president for Joe Biden, she is also kind of instrumentalized for...
What do you mean instrumentalized?
I mean, I think she, the only reason why she is running, I think, as vice president is because of the Black Lives Matter movement. It's just catching the votes.
Right.
And it's all about politics. It's not real. It's not honest. It just feels very like you have this very old people, like very white people who like to have things as they are, and people are very, very progressive, and this is a country where like the most progressive cultures are there right now, and also the most not progressive. Do
you think though that that's sort of a universal truth throughout the world, where there's always this battle going on between tradition and progress?
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, always.
So that's not unique to the United States.
I'm
sorry to interrupt. I didn't get your name.
Geza.
Say it, spell it.
You can call me Gigi.
Gigi, okay.
Yeah, I'm Gigi.
I'm Samuel, by the way.
Hi, Samuel. Yeah, I don't know. I think this country is. I don't know. It's hard to say how to say what will happen in the future here.
Yeah, there's a lot of voices saying now that we're close to a second civil war.
Oh yeah, definitely. Not only you. I think in Germany. When I told them I want to study and work here and live here for a year at least, they were all asking me, "You really want to do this?" Because the corona numbers are extremely high. This is unimaginable. Like, you are a Western country, and you're doing so bad.
What percentage of the population here do you think has coronavirus?
Enough.
Well,
I don't know the numbers anymore, but I know like the graphics.
If you had to guess, what would you say?
You have way too much deaths. You have way too much people.
No, the percentage of people who have coronavirus.
I don't know. I don't know every number from every country right now.
No, I know, but do you, like you say you have this idea about it, but you don't actually know the number.
I know the graphics, like red and how the numbers, like the countries are rated.
Right.
And from Germany, like German politics.
Right.
It's all what I have is like the German view.
Right. Well, I mean, graphics like that can be very misleading,
that's right.
especially when you don't have a grasp on the numbers. But it's roughly around 2% of the population.
I know. It's kind
and
of hard.
The United States is the third largest country in the world. We do the most testing. The next, India has 4 times as many people, but we do 4 times as much testing, or 4 or 5 times as much testing as India. And so there's
I'm
no.
not saying that India is doing well. They have huge problems.
Right. That's what I'm kind of alluding to, how misleading it can be to say that this is how bad it is here when we know the most about what's happening here than any place else.
That's right.
So
I mean, no, I would say Germany is doing better, to be honest. It's just like the numbers are better there.
Right.
It's definitely. But I don't want to say about Corona. I mean, in general, the politics here are running so crazy right now.
Yes.
That all people are asking me, if you're there, especially going, which I am now, the street fights here and everything, that's so crazy. And all the world is looking to those cities where like the big riots were.
Right.
It's crazy. And it just shows that.
Yeah. Do you think that the coverage of those things like that were happening in Seattle and continue in Seattle and Portland and some of the big cities is covered better in Germany than it is here, or vice versa?
No. I think we have in all Western countries right now a big right shift in general.
I'm sorry?
We have in all Western countries a big right shift to the right wing. Like in France. In Germany, we have, the first time in Germany, we have a right-wing party last years in the government, which is
No, I'm talking about the media coverage of the
media coverage
of the protests and riots.
I have no idea about the American media.
So you haven't been paying attention since you got here?
I only have idea about the German media.
I see.
That's the problem.
Right.
I only have the German view.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you say that you think that there is a big shift to the right.
Oh yeah, of course.
So I see that there is, as you say, the country is, getting getting polarized, and divided.
Yeah.
You didn't say that exactly, but I think you sort of hinted at it.
I mean, this country is super polarized.
Right,
Everybody is getting into this rusters.
It's a lot of data suggest that the center is moving to the left, and that people perceive that there is a rise of right-wing opinion because the center has moved to the left.
Yeah, that could be.
And that for example, like 10 years ago in America, very few people were talking about reparations, defunding the police, climate change. I mean, more so climate change, but all of these ideas are now mainstream. And so that would indicate that perhaps there's also at least as much rise of a left wing, of farther left wing than there is farther right wing.
I mean, it's hard to say left wing and right wing because there's so many more dimensions in the politics.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, to be for an economic running future and for green future or some, like this is always two polarized differences, and which are not specifically left or right. It's just that the left is more into taking care of the future from our planet Earth than mostly the right wing are.
One thing that I think is interesting is that in 2016 you had a lot of people who were supporters of Bernie Sanders. When he was eliminated, they decided to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's sort of there's a theory called the horseshoe theory, right, where the people on the far left and the far right are closer together than the people in the center.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy how radical opinions could be sometimes so close to each other.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people, like, for example, Donald Trump banned critical race theory in the federal government. And this is the theory that, everything sort of is looked through the lens of race. And a lot of people think that the radical left, who make decisions about what people should think and what they should do based on their race, is very similar to the white supremacist worldview.
It's hard to say. I would say in Germany we have also very left-winged and very right-winged parties and people with even kind of look like pretty similar, like the heavy punks and like the Nazis, neo-Nazis in Germany. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Do you think? I mean, how much do you think? One of the things I think might be similar, not the same, but similar between the United States and Germany is, you know, and correct me, or I'd love your opinion on this, is, you know, I think that Germans have a lot of guilt from the Second World War,
Yes.
and Americans have a lot of guilt about slavery.
Yes.
And this sort of shapes their the way they think politically.
Of course. Yeah.
And they're, you know,
it's one thing. We also had colonies in
Yes.
Africa, and we also were kind of guilty in the slavery, but the US now way different kind of dimension in this topic.
Right, sure.
And yeah, there's a lot of guilt, but I would say in Germany we try our very, very best to keep the concentration camps running in this way that people do. Like we have this politic of non-forgetting. It is, we get taught what happened. It is illegal to raise your right hand. It's illegal to say the Holocaust didn't happen. Everything is illegal.
Do you think this is good?
It is good, and it's also good that we don't forget. We get this taught in the school. We go to those concentration camps. We watch documentaries, and in the last 2 years of the higher education trade in Germany, we get this taught a lot.
A lot of people, you know, there are people who are very concerned about censorship in America. We have freedom of speech, and there are one argument that for freedom of speech is that when you ban speech, that it doesn't eliminate the idea. It puts the people. It makes the idea underground.
That's right.
And that the best disinfectant is the sunlight, like the light of day. Allow people to speak.
That's right.
Say what they want, and I mean,
but it's critical in those times, because in those times we have people in the internet, and people in the internet, they read stuff online and they see stuff and they feel empowered by reading from other people. Now it's not the weird neighbor talking to the other weird neighbor and they're sharing their opinion because they can. No. These are people who can organize themselves and who are the majority sometimes, which is very, very, very critical. Like this is not just freedom of speech. Now, like the small opinions. I mean, for example, if you watch a cat video on YouTube, you get another cat video recommended.
Yes.
If you watch right-wing topics, you get more right-wing topics recommended.
But this doesn't have to be. This is a problem of the algorithm.
And you think because of your freedom of speech that, I don't know, like people feel empowered in their kind of mind, they live in their own bubble. And then they think that everybody thinks the same. They're just, I don't know, like can't talk up, or this is the government try to control the people, or I don't know what. They live in their own bubble, and this is what happened to the freedom of speech right now in the 21st century.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting, sort of dynamic that's happening. The onset of social media has really changed the dynamic, but the same way you what you're saying happens. To people on the right, that speech is very much centered and or censored and frowned upon, whereas you have left-wing speech that is also discriminatory and sexist in its own right, that is that is promoted, openly and praised. And when the other one is censored, it creates.
You should never censor. You should never censor.
But I'm sorry. You were saying before that you think it's a good thing that Germany bans certain kinds of speech.
No, we don't. We have a freedom of speech, and it's one of the highest values we have in Germany. But it's forbidden only because of this one specific topic, which makes it controversial again because the freedom of speech. Mm. But it's only the topic about the Holocaust. Mm. It's only about this topic. It's illegal to say the Holocaust didn't happen.
Right. But is there to what extent do you think there's censorship in Germany on the subject of immigration? I know it's a very controversial issue.
It's a really hard question because it's also very controversial topic there. We have...
So do you think that there is censorship about the subject of immigration?
We have a lot of immigrants right now coming to Germany. We have a lot of refugees, and we have them everywhere. It's not just
but saying that you don't support that you want to stop that
no, it's hard to say. I mean, our economic still can carry it. And
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Our economic still can carry it, but that was before Corona. We could get those people into the country. We could still hold up our lifestyle, and we have still very good. I mean, those people who were once come to Germany, like the guest workers, they were different. I don't know. Just one second. Hey, Vinky. The guest workers, they were helping to raise Germany in the way it is, because they were working in every kind of job you can imagine, which helps to let this country grow. But the immigration waves right now, they're super controversial.
And they're much less controlled, I think. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, no, that's right. They try to control it, but we have still like Angela Merkel. She is for the refugees and she takes them into the country. I don't think it's bad. It's just you always have to also to have a sensitivity for the people who live in the country. And Germany, I think it should be. I think whole Europe should feel responsible for it, not only Germany. Because, like, for example, Austria, they're closing their gates again, which is sometimes so harsh and mean, and it still depends on Germany at this point.
Do you think that a country has a right to determine when they can let people in and when they don't? For example, like Germany, lets in 500,000 people, and it takes time for those people to acclimate, assimilate, adapt to the German culture, and they might. And the same with the United States. We have, some estimates of like 20 million immigrants here, a large percentage of which came illegally.
Yeah.
Do we have a right to maintain our borders? Do you think? And I'll make this the last question because you're right at 20 minutes. I want to respect your time.
Right. No, I think it's a very hard question with the borders because I think humanity starts where we care for each other. It's the point where we work together. I mean, we can also, everybody from us can go into the woods and say, okay, I make it on my own. But we are a society. We care for each other. And society means like we're living in a world where everything is like connected, and we are, that's the 21st century, and we have to live with the problems of the 21st century. And why are those people coming? They're not saying, okay, I will go to the US now, to Germany, and I don't know what. They have really big problems. Nobody leaves their home country, their friends, their family, everything behind them, because they just have an idea or something.
Right.
A lot of them die. A lot of them suffer a lot on the way where they want to go. Because they can't stay where they are, and that is a problem. You have to look. Okay, that's the climate crisis and the political problems there in those countries, and we have to take care of that.
Right. And then on the flip side, people come to countries like Germany and the United States because they have a lot to offer people.
Yeah, of
but
course.
if
we give them a lot of money, we give them homes. I see those homes. I mean,
and at a certain point, though, if you just have an open border that's unregulated, and millions and millions of people come, at a certain point, the society can no longer sustain that. It collapses, and then it can help nobody.
I mean, it's hard to say Germany and US is in this point similar, because the US is not taking care of their homeless people, or rarely taking care of them. In Germany, we rarely have homeless people, because we give them flats, we give them apartments, we have special buildings for them, and we try our very best to get the people away from the streets.
Right.
So here, I walk around and find so many homeless people here. This is so crazy. This is so crazy. Yeah. You can't even take care of the bottom from your own society.
Right.
How can you carry on for people who come here? Like, they would all what will those people do? In Germany, we build houses for them. They're like container houses, but still houses.
Do you think that's an argument for maintaining border security?
I think for the U.S. it would just spread oil into the fire.
I don't understand.
Like, just makes the problem bigger here. You have
having security?
No, just if more people will come into the
Right,
country.
right.
But on the other side, it's kind of sad because you were the first country which had those multicultural beliefs here, and just the settler spirit and everything.
Right. Well, thank you, Gigi.